Hey everybody, it's a rainy day here, and I thought that I would make you another video because I know how much you love them. So this time I thought that I would give you some opinions and thoughts on some of the movies that I've been watching lately. They're all from the Something Weird collection, so if you haven't ever looked at a Something Weird video before, I behoove you to do so. Especially if you're having a rainy day or a bad day, you need to see some Something Weird videos. They're all genre movies. They're all exciting movies from the past. And I'm going to show you four of them that I think are worth your time because they were worth my time. And, we'll just go from there. You can probably find these online. I know if you go to the site, the Something Weird site directly, there's a lot of them that are just for download. So if that's your gig, you can do that as well. This isn't a commercial for them because they have not sent me anything for free. But if they see this and they want to send me something for free, please feel free to be free. Let's all be free to be you and me. So the first movie is the classic Bad Girls Go to Hell. And it's a Doris Wishman classic, which anything from Doris Wishman is worth watching. She's a very unique director and filmmaker. How can I describe her aesthetic? It's she has this ability to take objects in a movie, in a scene, and make them seem like the most important thing going on, even more important than the story. So you've got to see one of her movies to understand what I'm talking about. And some people might think, well, that's just random, or it's like her own version of stock footage or something, to like keep showing you that painting of a frog serenading another frog. But no, there's meaning behind everything on the screen, okay? Or I believe so anyways. The story of Bad Girls Go to Hell is not a biography of sorrow, so sorry about that. But there are some similarities. So, for example, she has a very hot fiance, and unfortunately, though, he don't want to spend all day in bed with her. Am I right? I think you understand what I'm saying here. So she decides that what she needs to do then is her housework in just lingerie and white panties, because it's what you do. It's the uniform. Gentlemen don't understand that, but when a woman is home alone, you just wear your bra and panties mostly. You're hoping UPS shows up. So she's cleaning her house, which mostly consists of emptying the ashtrays, because this was back in the day when people smoked. And that's really all a lady had to do, was clean out the ashtrays. And when she goes to throw everything out, she gets attacked by the janitor. So in her belly. So it's very frightening, of course. And she runs back to her apartment and cries, but the janitor sticks a note under the door saying, if you don't come to my apartment now, I'm going to tell your husband that I attacked you. Which you would think she'd say, please do, because I'm about to call him anyways. But there are no cell phones back then. And what plays so big in these movies from back in the day is shame. People are so afraid that their secrets are going to be found out. Now, nowadays, Facebook, Instagram, all these things, everybody, it's confessional society, isn't it? No one cares now if you think that they, have ever worn a pair of panties or something like that, and there's a picture of it. In fact, they're hoping that there is one and that you will find it and make it go viral. So, but it's interesting to go back to this day where the shame isn't on him, it's on her. She's the one who, could lose something if this turns, if anybody finds this out. So that's interesting that she's like, well, then I guess I will have to go back to your apartment and get attacked again because it would be terrible if my husband found out about this. So she goes back and she gets attacked again, but she kills the guy. So... And that's not even giving the movie away. You might think, well, that is, no, that's not even the whole thing. So what happens is that because of shame, mostly, she runs away. And the movie is mostly her looking for someone to understand what has happened to her. It's very psychological if you want it to be. If you don't want it to be, it's a lot of scenes of women taking their panties off and on from about the knee down. So if that titillates you, you're going to want to see this movie. But what I got from it is it was very interesting, her ideas as she was going around looking, she leaves town basically, and she's just on the street with a suitcase, and people come and take her in. Some of them are nice and most of them are not. But the idea that I got from it that was interesting is that she buys into this idea that women are supposed to be saved. You know, there is this princess mentality out there where, you know, everyone's going to be saved. We're all princesses who are just waiting for our Prince Charming. But that's not happening for this girl. Even though she believes, you know, I wish that someone would just see me and see what has happened to me and just make it all better, because she can't do it for some reason. Her mind tells her, I can't do this. Like, she couldn't just go back home to her boyfriend and say, hey, this is what had happened. What happened was, no, she can't do that. She's got to run away. That's the most logical thing, right? And people thought things like this back in the day. If a woman got pregnant, family would ostracize her. So, you know, when you're damaged goods, you gotta leave town. So it's interesting. That's interesting. What else is interesting about this movie, and then the part that I don't want to give away, is when you get to the end of it, you realize how we psychologically screw ourselves. You know, how something can happen to us and we will never let it go. We'll never process it. We'll never work through it. That's the part I don't want to reveal about this movie that makes it such a gem. So if you're looking for a psychological, you know, brain twist, I suggest Bad Girls Go to Hell, especially if you're a woman and, you know, you want to think about how people used to think back in the day. But you know what? A lot of people still think stuff like this. Bad Girls Go to Hell. Hell is in the mind. So that's basically... I ruined the movie for you now. No. The second movie that we all want to watch together is Bawanga Bawanga. So if you don't want to go to hell, go to Africa. Because apparently there's tribes of white women go-go dancers there. And they will take you in. If you are a woman and you have got swimsuit technology down, like, you know, bra and panty set, they will take you in. And if you're a man, well, even better, because apparently everybody in Africa is horny, which I believe to be true. So the brilliance of Bawanga Bawanga is, you know, a lot of these old movies, you know, B movies, Z movies, the joy of them is that a lot of them use stock footage. But Bawanga Bawanga uses the footage correctly. So it adds to the movie. Most of it is scenes of animals, because the gist of the movie is these guys on safari walking all over Southern California, running into different shots of stock footage of animals, until they run into this other guy who says, hey, I just got back from this tribe of white women, these crazy white women, and I want to go back. So the other two guys, of course, are like, yeah, let's do this. This sounds good. So there's all these issues of like feminism and you know, male dominance and even racism being played out in this movie that are really interesting. For example, when they hear that there's this tribe of white women, the other two guys are like, oh, well, I'll get the blondes and you'll get the redheads. They've already divvied up the women, right? Because that's what you would do, right? Because these women are going to need us to protect them and save them, you know. Touch back to Bad Girls Go to Hell. But what is so interesting is that when they finally do encounter the women, they get bitch slapped. And that's all it takes to make these men fall over, is a bitch slap. So I find that true to real life. All it takes is a bitch slap. And the women, though, what's so fun about them is like the queen decides that she wants a big white man. And she says that over and over, big white man, big white man. So I suppose when you are a tribe of women in deep Africa, you want what you can't have, which is a big white man. And even though two of the guys in this are pretty cute, they all decide they want the one that looks the most like Bruce Campbell. So they have to fight for him, of course. You have to fight for him or dance for him, I guess. And the dancing is one of the best parts of this movie because these girls have got to be like, you know, professional go-go dancers or strippers. And so a lot of what they do is very interpretive. It's hard not to be drawn into the story that their hips are telling. They don't lie. The hips don't lie in this movie. But it's fun to see that interplayed with the stock footage. And what I love about the stock footage in this is that the animals are the character of, most movies have a character that's supposed to be the audience. It's supposed to be you in the movie. So it's the one that asks the questions or kind of leads you through, the storyline. And the animals in the stock footage are used as that. They are the audience. And what you'll find with this movie that's so interesting is that most of the animals are trying to get away from what's happening on screen. In reality, we're trying to get away from the original photographer, but it works so well in this movie that we see the animals witnessing something and then kind of being like, no, I can't be party to this. This is not Africa to me. And they take exit stage left. So that's kind of fun with that. It's a good time. It's definitely a good time. Bawanga Bawanga. Spice Girls in Africa, that's what I like to call it. The next movie is one called The Thirsty Dead. So you would think with that title it's about zombies, right? Like a Walking Dead thing. Well, you would be wrong. It's not about that. So what I love about The Thirsty Dead is that it starts with a go-go dancer, which a lot of these movies do. It starts with a go-go dancer just wishing that someone would come and take her and put her in white slavery. She's like, this has got to be better than go-go dancing in front of the remaining members of the Doors. And guess what? It happens. Someone comes and captures her and captures a couple of other girls and takes them away to Manila, where they become sacrifice for this death cult. So they're not really zombies, they're death cult. It's a death cult. And what they do is they put these girls on these altars and they kind of bloodlet them and they drink their blood because that's supposed to keep them young. Well, as you'll notice if you watch the movie, a lot of these people are very old. So it's not working. But they're still doing it, hey, it's Manila. This is what happens when you're a go-go dancer in Manila. You get kidnapped and a blood cult, uses you for a sacrifice. The funny thing is that I think they suggested first that it has to be a virgin sacrifice, but then why are they grabbing all these go-go dancers? Because I'm just, virgin, go-go dancer. I'm throwing it out there, Manila. There was a time in the Philippines when a lot of movies were being made of this caliber and more. Because the Marcos wanted everyone to think of the Philippines as this center of art and all this kind of stuff. So they were given a lot of leeway for directors and people to come in and money and stuff like that, and tax breaks and stuff like that. And I mean, there's even times that the military was used for movies, and the Marcos would be like, "Go ahead, you need a helicopter, no problem." Not so much in this movie, but what's great about this movie is that there's so many extras, such scene and atmosphere that, the money's on the screen, okay? In the costumes, when you get to the guy with the baby blue Doctor Strange collar, and he's got the hairy chest with all the chains and stuff like that, it's period, but it makes sense still, My favorite character is the first go-go dancer girl, whose name I'm forgetting right now. But what I love about her is, first of all, we meet her and she's like, please somebody put me into white slavery. I just, it just sounds like it'd be fun. And then when it actually happens to her, the other girls, of course, are scandalized. They're like, no, this is terrible. You can't do this to people. You can't just take our blood and everything like that. We have to escape. We have to get away. But the one girl's like, no, I'm happy here. This is good. I'm good with this. Which is, the moral of the lesson is when you find your place, just find the happiness within that place. If it's a death cult that's, sucking your blood, then it's a death cult that's sucking your blood. If it's a job at Starbucks, I really don't see the difference. So the difference is that they have health care. Well, we don't know. This blood cult might have a health care program too, okay? You don't know until you see the movie. There's no health care. So the next movie, the last movie, I watched just last night, and it's called Sheman. Sheman, yes. So when you hear a title like that, you go, I must see this movie. And another thing that I love about all these movies, and that I love about movies of this type, is that the history about them, how they got made, who made them, what happened to them afterwards. A lot of these movies that other people might consider like B, Z movies might lack budget, might lack acting, might lack editing, whatever, post, doesn't have the money for post, but the creativity is there, the story is there, and a lot of times actors within the movie will, be going for the gold, will chew absolutely the entire scenery, because this is their one moment in the sun, and I love seeing stuff like that. And that happens here in Sheman. So the basic story of Sheman is that this kind of macho military guy gets a letter from somebody named Dominita. That's right, Dominita. And she's saying, I'm going to tell your secrets if you don't come and be my slave. So of course he agrees to do so because again, for this time period, and I think this is 67 now, shame plays big for people. Not anymore, but back in the day, if somebody knew that, you had kissed a girl in college, or if you were, in the Navy, but you were also wearing panties, this would scandalize your family. So it was a big deal back then. So of course he agrees to go to be the slave. And when he gets there, he meets another girl, or I should say a girl, whose job is to feminize him. Now she's also got a secret she don't want nobody to know, which is rather tame by today's standards, but I won't, ruin the whole movie for you. But her job is to feminize him. Now his name is Albert Rose, but when he gets feminized, he's going to become Rose Albert. So that is how drag names are created. If you wanted to know, just reverse it. And the person who's got all their secrets is this trans person named Dominita. And the only difference between Dominita and Rose Albert is that Dominita is beautiful and Rose Albert is not. So, and Dominita walks throughout the entire movie with a whip, which makes sense to me. And there's a real strong Rocky Horror vibe to this movie. In the sense that it's got some clinical scenes where, a doctor wants you to know that it's very important for us all to observe the unusual and the different in lifestyle. It's all commonplace nowadays, but back then it was very interesting to watch this kind of stuff. There's a great party scene of unconventionalists, that will scandalize you. All kinds of gender benders and weird types and just, people in afros and things, which, today who cares? But back then it was very odd to see somebody in a diaper. Okay. No one cares now. I've ridden the CTA, but back then, man babies was a big deal. So Dominator throws these parties, just the idea of this strong, dominating trans person reads very Rocky Horror to me. There's no music in it, but it's, just all these themes. I wonder if Richard O'Brien had seen this movie at some point and was like, I'm going to grab that and take that over here and this over here. So it's very interesting to see how this person is feminized. And what's interesting to me about it is... just like I was talking about how there were certain mindsets back in the day of how a woman was supposed to act. There's ideas that even today trans people grab onto about how women are supposed to act and what you're supposed to do. And they're played out in this movie. Obviously, part of it is a submissive role. It's interesting to me that Rose has to take this very submissive, role while Dominita dominates everybody. So, you could make the argument who's more feminine, the person who submits to the role or the person who won't submit to the role. Do I overthink these movies or what? I mean, when I watch something like this, it's like the Zapruder films. I am picking it apart. I want to know the moment that, the change comes for that character and everything like that. And you'll see some of that in this movie. I love that it's in black and white. I love when movies are in black and white. And there's such a style to this movie. One of the things about this particular movie that I found so interesting that I was like, I have to see this now, is that it's one of the first movies done by Bob Clark. And if you are a child of the 80s, you will remember two iconic 80s movies that he did, Porky's and A Christmas Story. So if he had only ever done those two movies, he would already be on my list of, fabulous directors. But now knowing that he did Sheman, I'm even more like, okay, Bob Clark is, the gig, because how can you go from those three things? And if you think about it, there's three different ideas. And I love when directors do stuff like that. Really go into something like, what's it mean to live a trans life? What's it mean to just be, a horny teenager? What's it mean to, can A Christmas Story be more of a Christmas movie? It's the ultimate Christmas movie if you grew up in the 80s. I defy anybody to say that it's not. So those are the four movies that I want you to check out. If it's raining where you are, You got nothing to do, but you got a computer because you just watched this, so you got a computer. Go to the site, something weird site, and download something if you like, or YouTube, or or go on eBay and order one of these, or go to Amazon. Maybe you can get a same day video or something like that. But these are the 4 that I'm suggesting for you now. And if you have seen them or you do see them, leave me a comment because I would love to talk more with people about these movies and just exchange ideas about them. And who knows, maybe I'll do another video and we'll talk about some more movies because there's more movies in the pipeline. There's always more movies in the pipeline. Otherwise, I hope that you're having a good day, rainy or not. And I hope that this helps to make your day. Bye. All right, that one.